Fellow Zimbabweans, fellow Africans, welcome to this very short press brief from the Citizens Coalition for Change. A very good afternoon to you. As you know that last week we announced our process of choosing candidates and representatives of CCC in the harmonized election coming very soon. And we are here today to announce that we have set a robust and transparent process that will ensure that only the best candidates will represent us as presidential candidates, senators, members of parliament, councillors, proportional representations, and young people in the quarter of the youth. We have therefore set tomorrow, Wednesday, to be the date of our first process, which is the nomination of candidates from across the country. We've just deployed our technical teams and leaders to different parts of the country, with key venues being given to our citizens, in particular in the 1,978 wards in our country, where our people have an opportunity to nominate in very clear and open process who they decide to choose as members to represent our movement. You know that at the center of this consensus candidate selection is our rhythm that is about putting citizens back at the center. So we make this emphatic emphasis because we believe that our process must be reflective of the collective will of citizens in different parts of the country. We've consistently urged fellow Zimbabweans, all our champions, our supporters, members, and the Zimbabwean broad society to be able to participate in this process and ensure that they choose members that are credible, they choose representatives that connect with them, that are within the community, working with the community, and have the capability to help us form the next government. Nominated candidates that are going to be nominated tomorrow are going to go through a vetting process. We have set a committee that is going to be doing the vetting process to ensure that all our processes are in line with this existing constitutional and legal statutes, and of course our own set parameters in terms of who qualifies to represent the movement. After which we are going to go back to the citizens, to you fellow Zimbabweans, and confirm with you the people that have been successful in the vetting process, so that you hear from them in what we call a citizens caucus process, to ensure that these people are validated by the citizens, so that when they are competing persons and individuals, the community are able to set it emphatically clear who they think is the best candidate moving forward. After which fellow citizens, we are going to proceed to produce a national candidate list of our official members who are going to represent CCC. But today, the gist of this very short press brief is to announce to you, fellow Zimbabweans, interested parties, stakeholders, observers, that we have set what we call consensus independent selection panel, which is basically going to be our panel that is going to be selecting and running this process in terms of making sure that the people reflect their will. So this panel is drawn out of competent individuals in communities, in civic spaces, political movements, and so forth. The basic mandate of this commission is to ensure that they hold this process. You know that this process is independent. This process cannot be driven by the party, so we've invited a panel of experts. So the panel has got a chairperson and an entire team that is going to be conducting this process across the country. We have also publicized publicly to fellow Zimbabweans and every interested parties in terms of the contact details that people can contact if there are any grievances and any challenges in terms of the conduct of the process. So the independent panel is aware and conscious of our rules and regulations, and one of them is obviously the terms of reference that includes for them to operationalize the candidate selection regulations to all interested parties, and of course to make sure that the database is the one that represents these particular villages, the streets across the country, and of course to ensure that our selection process comply with the rules and regulations of the process. Again, this commission is going to be also presiding over the candidate validation, verification of the process across the entire part of the country. They are also going to be responsible with their entire team in terms of the logistical processes that involves this selection process. So tomorrow they are going to be all over the country. They've already deployed their teams to ensure that our process is smooth, our process is transparent, our process is open. You know that in the past we've had people having problems during our by-elections around our processes and how the process go about in terms of stakeholder mappings and all the nitty-gritties involved in our process. It is therefore important for us to make it public to all interested parties in terms of who these particular individuals are, for the purposes of clarity, for the purpose of openness, for the purpose of transparency. So I will invite into the podium our elections Bureau lead person, Councillor Ian Makoni, to come and give us the list of the individuals that have been appointed by our movement to be running this particular process, after which we are going to be seeing them in press briefs and internal processes to brief you and brief everyone in terms of the process. So they will be in charge of this. They will be communicating with you, members of the media, communicating with our champions and all interested stakeholders in terms of our process. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, members of the press. Good afternoon. You will forgive me that I don't know what happened to our printer. The first names have not appeared in my thing, but I'll nevertheless read. We are very delighted that we are reaching the next stage in our process of achieving a transparent process in the selection of persons that will represent CCC in the forthcoming elections. The chairperson for the candidates independent election panel, in short CISP, CISP, is Mr. Rashid Mahia, a well-known peacemaker, and he is deputized by Ms. Ndebele, a well-known trade unionist in the labor movement. And the other members of the panel are Mr. Sibanda, originating from the students' movement, Ms. Dewa, a well-known women activist, Mr. Kele, Reverend Kele, my Ndebele is a little bit cocky, a well-known churchman. We have Mr. Sibanda, very prominent in the student movement, and Mr. Bwede, who is very prominent in the civic movement, Mr. Ngandu, from the labor movement, Bishop Bakare from the church, Mr. Moyo, also from the labor movement, and from the Residents Association, we have Mr. Mtombe. From the sector of people living with disability, we have Ms. Chakanetsa. We also have Mr. Kulani Moyo from the student movement, and Mr. Fayayo representing the business community. So those are the names that are on the pad. They are not private, and we are going to be releasing them shortly. Ostalos will make sure. They had their first meeting this morning to wet their feet just before the commencement of the nomination process, which, as you have been told, gets underway tomorrow. We are very excited, and obviously it's a very challenging time for us to ensure that at the end of the day, we have a portfolio of candidates that reflect the sentiments of the persons, the ordinary day-to-day citizens of this country. And that opens a new chapter in the body politic of this country, paving the way to a developmental state that we would all wish to have. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Makoni from our elections, Peru. I'll take questions if there are any, and issues of clarification. I think that it confirms that it's very clear. We thank you, fellow Zimbabweans. So tomorrow we are commencing our nomination process. From then we are going to be having our candidates. We expect to finish this process within a period of 3 weeks, after which we are going to make it national, we are going to make it public, and then begin our campaigns. Thank you very much. Those who have registered to vote, we urge you to register to vote. ZEC offices are still open. Members of the media, fellow Zimbabweans, good afternoon.